Episode 2 of Outlander Season 8 combines mystery and tragedy. I was certain that the series wouldn't have time for some of the Outlander novel plotlines, and there are always others that we would prefer to see overlooked or forgotten. We are reminded of the tragedy that may strike anyone at home when one of those narratives appears in Outlander Season 8 Episode 2. Simultaneously, we are thrust into a mystery that will undoubtedly carry us through the season and allow us to spend more time with William.A. warning about the risks at home. Claire and Jamie have had their share of issues, and the threats typically materialize on the journey or in combat. Outlander rarely poses a threat so close to home. It's not impossible, but it's uncommon. There were a few in Outlander Seasons 6 and 7, including the Christie problem and the bugs, but they were more significant than the tragedy in Outlander Season 8 Episode 2. Amy Lindsay, formerly known as Amy McCallum, was a short life. A bear attacked her, Brianna, Rachel, and Lizzie right away while they were gathering berries. Amy's wounds were expertly made up, and it was as horrific and disturbing as I recall from the book. From the scene in Go Tell the Bees That I Am Gone, it is just how I imagined it all. I'll admit that there have been some changes from the book, and I'm glad for it. I don't think the series could have really shown the horrific and heartbreaking sequence from the book. Additionally, the children were involved in the book, but they are kept safe in the show. The terrible and heartbreaking nature of the events is not diminished by any of this. After failing to kill the bear in the first place, Brianna feels compelled to take action, while Rachel and Lizzie simply attempt to cope with the shock. The women's reactions vary slightly. Everything we need to know is shown by Claire's glance at Jamie upon witnessing Amy's injuries, and it has a strong connection to Outlander Season 1. I couldn't help but think of the boar attack, when Claire gave Dougal a single glance to let him know there was no way to save his comrade. This is one of those situations where nothing needs to be said. Evan begs Claire to help Amy, of course, but he also acknowledges that she is powerless. He is aware that she would exert every effort to do so if there were. After this, the Ridge is there with Evan and the boys, and even without Jamie and Claire, it's an opportunity to observe the family that has grown. Without their laird, it would have been simple for people to live their own lives, but it demonstrates Jamie's long-standing example. Thus, Evan has the backing of even the newcomers. However, I must admit that Captain Cunningham's speech seemed a little dubious. And how did he defeat the bear by himself with such ease? Amy's son went out to hunt the bear, and I felt sorry for him. Although there isn't much vengeance when it comes to wild animals, he didn't get the opportunity to exact revenge for the loss of his mother. However, Cunningham stole the assurance that the kill would be his. Elspeth Cunningham was brought back into the narrative by this entire plot, and it seems as though she has changed drastically since we last saw her in an episode. Additionally, it is inherent in the texts. I'm impressed that the show managed to convey the understanding and respect that Amy's death brought between Claire and Elspeth in just 2 brief sequences. Frank's ghost remains. There were doubts about Tobias Menzies' comeback prior to the start of Outlander Season 8. Despite his repeated claims that he hadn't been invited back, his name appeared in the opening credits. Naturally, that made me wonder if we will experience a flashback or some kind of figment of him now that Jamie is aware of his appearance. It's his voice instead. I suppose Jamie can give the character a voice now that he has given it a face. Black Jack Randall's voice becomes Frank's as he will never forget it. There is Frank's ghost, almost mocking Jamie about death and the future. Everyone initially wants to think that there might be another James Fraser in the backcountry who will perish at King's Mountain. That's what Roger suggests, and it makes the greatest sense. Over the years, there were hundreds of James Frasers, and not all of them would have stayed in Scotland. Because of its widespread use, historians have consistently noted that there were instances in which several people shared the same name, which made their task more difficult. It becomes evident that Frank did find the appropriate James Fraser when Benjamin Cleveland, who truly irritates me, appears, and that's when Frank's ghost truly takes control. Jamie's fear increases as he considers and comes to terms with it. Although I'm not entirely sure if the private moment with Claire was successful, I've frequently wondered about a few of these private moments. Even in the book, it says a lot about Jamie as a man. He feels envious of Frank even though Claire picked him, and the more he considers his death, the more he thinks about Frank. Although I can understand his impulse to claim Claire at that precise moment, I don't necessarily relate to it. I do like how Claire and Jamie talk about Frank and why he would be so fixated on studying Jamie. Jamie makes a valid argument, but we can think about it all we want. It's about Claire, not Jamie. The painting he saw at the museum when he took Bree tells us that he is aware that Claire eventually travels back in time. Frank probably wanted to know when. Frank is one of the most intriguing characters in the Outlander universe, both in the novel and the show, and I'm always curious to learn more, but this exchange between Claire and Jamie was sufficient for me. As an aside, I really like the exchange between Roger and Jamie, in which Roger informs Jamie about all the events of 1739. Buck chose to stay in the past. I only needed to know that. William sets out to find answers and discovers a mystery. The plot of Outlander Season 8 Episode 2 is introduced with a charming flashback. Benjamin Gray, who had received a commission, is shown with his cousin William and younger brother Henry. William offers Ben a tiny army man figure in this scene, and you could see right away that it will be mentioned later. I'm not sure if I should include Henry and Mercy's wedding. I understand why William was brought to Henry, but it wasn't necessary. I suppose I didn't really care because we didn't spend much time together during Outlander Season 7, and it wasn't necessary for Henry to learn that his brother had passed away at his own wedding. I also have to wonder why John didn't inform Henry before to all of this. The entire scenario didn't sit well for some reason. However, it doesn't become a major issue. Rather, it serves as a springboard for William's narrative as he looks for details regarding Ben's final days. The greater mystery begins at that point. William looks for the small figure as soon as he receives Ben's clothes back, and he smiles slightly when he doesn't locate it. He is aware. Things are beginning to come together. The more important question now is what happened to Benjamin, as he is still alive. Naturally, he must discover the truth, which entails defiling Ben's purported tomb. The fact that there was a body inside is impressive, and I'm glad it wasn't Ben. Yes, all of this is included in the book, but even so, I found it surprising that they bothered to bury a body in what was meant to be Ben's tomb. It strengthens the conspiracy since it implies that a body was present before someone chose to stage Ben's demise. Admittedly, I wasn't expecting the Outlander TV series to tell this story in its entirety, but I'm delighted it does. In addition to giving William a genuine plot of his own, the entire arc offers him an opportunity to view life from a new perspective. It will undoubtedly have an impact on the TV series and, in my opinion, be crucial to how William's journey concludes in the books. Even when the joy of a child's birth breaks up the often profound sadness at the Ridge, it is still beneficial to take a break. Nobody else could have shed more light on the episode than young Ian's response to the birth of his son and the mention of the cherished Rollo. Even though I liked the Outlander Season 8 opening, this second hour is better, and I'm eager to see where this epic story takes us. There is a flashback of William giving his cousin Benjamin Gray a toy soldier before he left for battle before the show delves into omens. In this episode, William's goal is to learn more about the unexplained death of his cousin. Claire and her secret granddaughter Fanny are undergoing surgery at the Ridge. Notably, this is the directorial debut of Kate Nona Balfe. Claire cautions Fanny to be cautious when discussing the brothel with anyone else on the Ridge, but she also encourages Fanny to be honest about her background with their immediate family. Roger tells Jamie what transpired with his descendant, Dougal's son Buck, when they are out in the woods. Roger might have been subtly admitting that he had forgiven Jamie for abandoning him in Season 4 when they talked about forgiveness. However, Jamie was too preoccupied with Frank's book to notice if he was. He asks his son-in-law, historian, if he can identify any of the names of the troops he is supposed to fight with in the impending Battle of King's Mountain. Roger doesn't, and Jamie neatly omits the fact that he is meant to perish in the conflict. In addition, he questions Frank Randall's motivations for writing about him and rejects Roger's invitation to read the book. When Captain Cunningham arrives, Jamie and Roger correctly surmise that he shares their Freemason beliefs. The former British captain is invited to join Jamie as he establishes a lodge on the Ridge. William is in Philadelphia to attend his cousin Henry's wedding to Mercy Woodcock. Mercy expresses her hope that the Assembly will approve Mr. Bryan's bill to lift the prohibition on interracial unions. She is probably referring to Governor George Bryan, who wrote the Gradual Abolition Act. In addition to being there to support their marriage, William is traveling to New Jersey to look into Ben's death. He informs Henry that his brother has passed away, leaving Amaranthus and Trevor with a wife and children. Before catastrophe strikes, the women of the Ridge are taking their time picking blueberries. And you knew this was coming if you read Diana Gabaldon's 9th Outlander book, Go Tell the Bees That I Am Gone. Amy McCallum is mauled by a bear just after talking about how happy she is to have found love on the Ridge. Amy is hurried to Claire's surgery, but it's too late. She cannot be saved by Claire. Ori and Aiden, her boys, and her husband Evan arrive just in time to bid her farewell. In addition to the fact that your friend being mauled by a bear is a rather unpleasant return to 18th century living, Brianna suffers with the fact that she didn't assist. Jamie tells Aiden that he can claim the kill to exact revenge on his mother, but she still sets out to find the bear. However, Captain Cunningham outperforms them. The British captain confidently responds, "There was no danger of that, I assure you," to young Aiden's wonder that he could have perished after killing the bear by himself. When Mrs. Cunningham, the captain's mother, goes back to the Ridge to assist Claire with Amy's body, she also shows a great deal of bravery. The all-business, child-slapping Elspeth displays a gentler side to Claire, asking her to repair Amy's face as much as possible so that her loved ones can see it one last time during her wake. Claire is a little taken aback. William isn't learning much about Ben's passing in New Jersey, except from the fact that he passed away from jail fever. Ben was much better before he supposedly passed away, according to the army surgeon's assistant, whom he encounters. Suspicious, huh? William retrieves Benjamin's possessions, which noticeably do not include his toy soldier, after seeing his sorrowfully marked grave. Claire's medical responsibilities at the Ridge are neglected while Rachel gives birth. Ian and Rachel welcome a healthy son who they will call Augie for the time being. Uncle Jamie tells young Ian that he is jealous because Ian will have the opportunity to raise his son, something Jamie was never able to do with any of his children, and that Ian will be a wonderful father. Benjamin Cleveland, one of the guys named in Frank's book, is a portent of Jamie's impending death, so he doesn't have much time to be sentimental. Cleveland proudly acknowledges that he is the one who hanged the loyalist pigs that Jamie and Brianna discovered in the woods and wants Jamie to join his rebel force. He's quite vile, and it's obvious Jamie is worried about what might happen that would lead him to team up with him. Claire subsequently claims that Jamie won't die in that fight, but she does question why Frank looked for Jamie in the past without telling her. "Maybe he wasn't looking for me, Claire," Jamie notes. "Perhaps he was looking for you to see whether you would abandon him." Additionally, Cleveland had volunteered to assist Jamie in evicting Captain Cunningham of Torrey from his property. Even though Jamie declined Cleveland's offer, Cunningham increased Jamie's mistrust of him during the Freemasons' first meeting. Cunningham describes how his son Simon, who died in the Battle of Saratoga 2 years ago, resurrected to say, "I'll see you again in 7 years." Cunningham's bravery in defeating the bear on his own is explained by his genuine belief that he won't pass away till then. Jamie is troubled by his claim of invincibility. Speaking of eluding death, William chooses to unearth his cousin's tomb in order to confirm that he is indeed dead since he is dissatisfied with what he has discovered about Benjamin. Additionally, he finds that Ben's burial contains another man. Is Ben truly dead? If not, what on earth is Amaranthus? As Jamie continues to suffer over Soul of a Rebel, his own death looms looming. In his mind, he hears Frank berating him about the day of his demise. Frank's voice continues to declare, "You're going to die, even after having loved to Claire. When you're gone, who will hold her?" Oh my, Jamie is usually treated so cruelly by those Randalls.